ill global, and we got some breaking news, and we're gonna go check it out right here on C-SPAN. So let's pull it up. Welcome everybody. It's a lot of moving parts, and that is my daughter Amira Naela. People are very upset about the U.S. AID, and they are just expressing their disposition. And then also we have some news, some updates on from President Trump's from the office of president in regards to the call with Mexico and the call with Canada. And some good news: we're still in negotiations. We're still in talk. Tariffs have not been lifted, but communications have been made. Um, Relations are developing around the subject matter, and it's going to be interesting. In fact, here's the president himself.
Also get out of the tariffs after you start to deal with
Well,
Mexico?
nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Scheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000. Could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning. But I did ask him a couple of questions, like, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well. Uh, Banks are not, as an example, allowed. Did you know that American banks are not allowed to do business in Canada? Can you believe that? And that's one of many things, and we talked about it, and I think we'll win most of the subjects. But for some reason, a lot of things have been very unfair with Canada. I noticed that in the first term, you deal with people, and after a while, you begin to realize, like you learn that Larry Ellison's very tough to do business with. Okay, he's a very tough guy. I mean, I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with, and we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And we don't need. And look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3 o'clock again, but we don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk, dairy, etc. A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States. So we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars. With that being said, we're going to have another call at 3 o'clock. We had a call this morning. It was a pretty good call, I'd say. So the call with Mexico went very well in the sense that they're very strong now on the border. They're going to put soldiers there. So, actually, they're best military soldiers, and they're going to be at the border, 10,000. That's a lot of soldiers, and they want to protect it also. They don't want people running through Mexico, coming through Mexico to come into our country. So they're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about other things over the next 30 days. We're going to have Scott, Howard, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, lead the delegation, and we're going to have a big negotiation with Mexico. I'll be involved too, and President Scheinbaum will be involved to see whether or not we can work something out on the tariffs.
And so that's directly from the president, um, as he expresses his position and disposition on the subject matter of tariffs, border, the fentanyl crisis, and the resolution to bring those things to an end. And moving right along, we got right here just 58 minutes ago. You got Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland, leads other congressional Democrats into USAID headquarters. Quote, so we can hear firsthand. So we can hear firsthand what it says. We can hear firsthand what is happening with this Elon Musk attempted takeover, which will not stand. We will prevail. Let's go. Okay.
And we will, as you probably saw, Elon Musk and his crew put a gag order on AID employees. They disconnected them from email, which is putting lives at risk around the world. So we are here to enter the building, and so we can hear firsthand from whoever is here at AID, or at least witness firsthand what is happening with this Elon Musk attempted takeover, which will not stand. We will prevail. Let's go.
And there they go. They're entering the USAID building, which has been found that it's been sending taxpayer dollars, or distributing our taxpayer dollars to money laundering operations. It's a program that undermines the integrity of the American people. That's designed to cause crises here in the United States. And President Trump, Elon Musk, of Doge, and this current administration is taking unprecedented action to bring these crises to an end. And the DNC has continued to push its agenda and policy in defense of its systems that's been created and the practices that's been conducted to rob the American people, based on the findings, based on the abundance of reports, including but not limited to the information that just came out from the Treasury, which they had a green light to approve funding for everything without an audit, without question. And the day that they were addressed and confronted to produce and furnish said information due to the Doge audit, the highest ranking member retired with the keys. And so when we talk about, what is the deep state? You're looking at the deep state. When you talk about what is this bureaucratic state, what's going on? Why do the president keep saying and signaling this level of intelligence to the American people? And so the time for talk is over, obviously, and he went to work, and you can see the effect. That really bothered some people because their funding stopped. Like, people don't stop doing what they're doing unless it bothers their pockets. And so now that the funding is stopped and everything is under a presidential executive review, now you can see who he's talking about when he says the deep state. The deep state, the shadow government.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You keep America safe, and you help people all around the world. And I want to apologize. I want to say I'm sorry that you have to put up with this. First of all, to all the employees at USAID, thank you, thank you, thank you. You keep America safe, and you help.
You hear him say, thank you, thank you, thank you, because you've done a marvelous job at facilitating, administrating, and managing the greatest wealth heist in U.S. history. Okay. We've been funding our own detrimise. Okay. And that's the bottom line of the findings of these audits. Eventually, we were going to get to the finance. Why do we have billions of dollars going to nowhere? Why is it going there? And who's been in the beneficiary capacity in receivership of those revenues of the U.S. tax dollars? Okay, what do you mean we're funding programs that's designed to undermine our values, our Constitution, designed to usurp the rights of the people, designed to create crisis after crisis after crisis, to produce a climate of destabilization. We should, and so as a result, the people suffer and die. The people experience a lack of progress. The people are robbed of the what we refer to as the American dream, and that means they're deprived of their sovereignty and their wealth, their treasury, and it's given to another. And so that this system has been uh, uh, put to a test. You know, you ever heard the saying, testing the sufficiencies of services? That's what the president is doing. He's testing the sufficiencies of services. Wait a minute, we need to see this, we need to see that, we need to run this through the test to see if it's operating in its proper capacity. Is it an asset for the country or is it a liability? This is about assets versus liabilities. And once we start identifying the liabilities, you start to see the effect. You got the cause, now we look at the effect. So that's what we're examining right now. Who is this guy? What is he talking about? What do we, as long as, you know, what happens is people got to show up when their pocketbooks start to take a hit. It's like, well, wait a minute. We're going to go down to the headquarters of the USAID and we're going to get answers. We're going to get answers now. That's the same thing that President Trump is saying. We're going to get answers. We're going to get answers now. I have to get answers. I'm the president of the United States. The executive branch got to know, has a right to know, reserved the right to know. And so it's no way possible that we got the president of the United States and he don't got the information on the financial status, on the profits and loss statement. He got to have the actual financial facts. Where's the money? Where is it going to, and why has it been going there? And if we find foul play, first and foremost, it's our job to bring that awareness to the American people, but also refer that over to the Department of Justice. And it doesn't matter what the truth take us to. We got to just follow the truth. We got to follow the facts. We got to follow the evidence. And so these people are making themselves available at public disclosure for us to see. And this is what the brother L Global is reading, scaling for this particular situation. Hold on just a moment. I'm so sorry about that. I had to get my daughter. But my point is, this is what is being revealed is that that we see the figureheads, the characters, to fill in the blank spots. Like what blank spots is, well, who are the people involved? Well, who are the people involved in this presentation? Look at the hand gestures. Look at the people that's involved. An immediate response. What the heck is going on? They stopped the funding to us and our allies. We set up the funding to go out and then go out and participate in the NGOs that's receiving the funding. And so that's what we're finding. $50 million going out for condoms in Gaza. And everywhere else. We got billions and billions of dollars, millions of dollars going out for what? And we're dealing with a $36 trillion deficit. So, and so we get a chance. That's what I would say. We get a chance. The American public has an opportunity in the 21st century to actually examine and analyze the figureheads behind the shadow government. Behind, we call it not shadow government, but like the Wizard of Oz. Who's behind the curtain? We're gonna get answers. We're gonna go. Who's involved into this presentation? This demonstration, actually. They're doing a demonstration here. We're going to push back against Elon and President Trump. What they actually said is we're going to push back against the facts. We're going to push back against the facts. We're going to misconstrue the facts and put in place a narrative that supports and shield our money laundering operation.
Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made. What Trump and Elon and all of their cronies are trying to do is take away the constitutional power of Congress. We get to decide. We have the power of the purse. We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get. When we talk about civil servants being let go, what we are talking about is not saving money. It's essentially saying they can get paid while they're home and their work doesn't get done on behalf of the American people. Right. It is us, taxpayers, who are being ripped off. Right. It is us, taxpayers, who are not getting the resources that we paid into. We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made. What Trump and Elon and all of their cronies are trying to do is take away the constitutional power of Congress. We get to decide. We have the power of the purse. We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get. When we talk about civil servants being let go, what we are talking about is not saving money. It's essentially saying they can get paid while they're home and their work doesn't get done on behalf of the American people. Right. It is us, taxpayers, who are being ripped off. It It is us, taxpayers, who are not getting the resources that we paid into.
So what she effectively is saying is that, yes, we know it's a money laundering operation. And that's why we sent the money that way. We set it up. And who are you to stop it? What are you talking about? That was the only read that I was able to get off that, because we're talking about the reality that there's money that's going out to programs that undermines American values, that goes against our interests. So I can appreciate your honesty, but what you're telling me is that you were aware. So this was premeditated. This was a willful act done by so-called Congress. And that's exactly who's under investigation, the U.S. Congress. We're taking a presidential and executive action to investigate all branches of the federal government. We agree with you, my good sister. We absolutely agree with the fact that we have a constitutional crisis. What are we doing here? The moment you said we was in $36 trillion deficit, that the money that we are, the so-called revenues that we're generating, right, is going to what they say is going to interest alone. We're on a great decline. We've been experiencing the decline. We are identifying the pain points, and we're finding corruption, 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 and corruption. And so again, I don't know how many times I got to tell you this. The Constitution has a reservation of rights for the American people. We reserve the right to course correction. Whenever a government fails to service the American people, it's our duty to put in place a government that will service the American people the right way. Just a moment. Okay. And so we had to take a quick little break. Now let's go back to this demonstration. So that's exactly what I read, because the president and DOGES have released to the public some of their findings. They've been sending it out. And it's amazing. It's appalling. It's scary. It's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? Somebody has to explain that. And so I admire these DNC actors here, because what they're effectively doing is really confessing their crimes. Now listen to the last part. She says, we have the power of the purse. You do, but you do not have the constitutional power to finance terrorist type conduct and programs that undermines the integrity and attacks and creates a national security issue, a national security crisis. We know for a fact that federal funds went to NGOs that aided and assistance in stimulating the border crisis. These are crimes against the United States, against the people of the United States. So let's see what
organization that helped. As my colleague said, it's not only a gift to our adversaries, but trying to shut down the Agency for International Development, by executive order is plain illegal. It is illegal. Elon Musk may get to be dictator of Tesla, but he doesn't, and he may try to play dictator here in Washington, D.C., but he doesn't get to shut down the Agency for International Development. Now, as we're speaking at a federal court, at the district court right down the road, there's an ongoing hearing, I don't know if it's over yet, about the earlier effort of the Trump administration to stop federal grants around the country to communities and people in need. There's a stay on that. And then in Rhode Island, the attorney generals got a TRO on that. So what you're seeing here with respect to AID is a continuing effort around those illegal actions. Now, over the weekend, I had multiple conversations with lawyers, and I want to commend all the lawyers who are working on upholding the rule of law here, including Democracy Forward, which is an organization that helped file the lawsuit pending right now in the DC District Court. I am confident that when they look into this, and they are looking into this, that they will also file suits to hold the Trump administration and Elon Musk accountable. This is a clear violation of our law. Finally, let me just say a word to all the men and women and employees who work with AID. Thank you for your service to the United States of America. And we have all asked the authorities at AID, we've made multiple calls, to allow us just to enter the building in AID when this press conference is over, simply to talk to the civil servants at AID, those who may be in the building. As you know, they were told not to come in. But we would like to see firsthand what is happening to this essential agency that does such good work on the American people. So to our colleagues at AID and across the government, stay strong. We have your back. We will do everything in our power in the Senate and the House to stop this outrage. And in the meantime, since we don't have many Republican colleagues who want to help us, we are doing everything we can with our colleagues through the courts to make sure that we uphold the rule of law, stop this illegal shutdown of AID, and stop the other illegal actions around the government. Let me now.
Okay. Again, the American people get a chance to see exactly who are the people that were behind the initial financing of this money laundering operation disguised as a U.S. agency for international development. And the president, he must go into this thing and see what the heck is going on, because we've been making the world what should I say when I say the world? We're talking about, so-called hostile nations and adversarial nations, competitors. We've been putting them in a position and putting of an advantage point over the Americas, and that's over with. Our politicians here, the sellout politicians, has been bought and sold, and this is a reality. We're funding Soros programs, we're funding depopulation programs, we're funding COVID-19 bioengineering that's designed to eliminate humanity. What are we talking about here? We have been involved in the self-suicide, i.e. genocide, of its own people, and it's been covered up. One of the greatest cover-ups the world has ever known, outside of, and it coincides when the Congress continue. If you look at history, if you're a student of history, Congress been selling us out for a long time. They right. It's Congress' job. Excuse me. Excuse me. She's right about one thing. It's Congress' job to enact the law. And they have a fiduciary duty. They're in charge of the purse. And so she's absolutely correct when we're trying to put the pieces to the puzzle in the investigative phase of this case, right? Because this is the American people conducting an investigation. This is the American people conducting a prosecution of those who have been found guilty. And I'm gonna say found guilty, but have been the evidence shows, the evidence reflect that they have been the engineers of this. This is what she said. They said it's Congress. We got the purse. We send the money where we want to send the money to. Well, that's exactly the problem, sis. Y'all been sending the money wherever y'all want to. Y'all haven't been sending the money to the American people. Hey, what do you mean? What a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face. That is a slap in the face, America. That's essentially what I read through the surface level of her message. The surface dwellers, you're like, yeah, that's right. The taxpayer, and at the same time, you got to shake out of that and say, wait a minute, I got to go with common sense on this one. You're right, we got a constitutional crisis. You're right, we got a $36 trillion deficit. You're right, our government has gone off course. This is a fact, a reality. We were supporting a border crisis. It wasn't a crisis under the Biden-Harris regime. It was a policy. They had enacted through Congress and enforced through the executive branch and upheld through the judiciary branch, crossing the border illegally. That's a crime. They had reassigned our border patrol agents. They had not only reimagine them. Remember that word they were using? We need to reimagine the world in the name of COVID, the pandemic, which was the signal for them to initiate Operation or Project 2020. What everybody talking about Project 2025? What about Project 2020? And President Trump sounded the alarm. So they stole the election. That was one. Two, prior to President Trump sounding the alarm, Congress signaled to you when they brought Congress up, when they brought President Trump on impeachment charges over the phone call because Trump mentioned the corruption that was going on over in the Ukraine. Imagine during the Trump administration, there was no outbreak of conflict. It was no incursion, no invasion. It was no Russia buildup. It wasn't none of that going on. And so these people got exactly what they wanted when they hijacked the election. They hijacked the U.S. government. It was already hijacked prior to the Trump administration. Trump came in and took it back. And I'm saying Trump, but Trump represents us, the American people. He won the populist vote. The actual common folks, irregardless of creed, irregardless of nationality, they agreed with President Trump. They gave him their authority. They delegated the power and put that on the record. We went and voted for that. We put it on the record. This is the American people's official position, official stance on the state of affairs. Women talk, men, I would say women lie, men lie. Them votes didn't this time. It was too big to rig because of the work of not only President Trump, but his entire team and all the real and true patriots of America and the world. They continue to push the truth against censorship. They was deplatformed, demonetized. They were attacked. They were assassinated. Their characters was assassinated. They lost their jobs. They lost their reputations. They were blackballed, blacklisted. It was a terrible experience. It was not only an overreach of power, but it was cruel and unusual punishment, which the Constitution protects you from cruel and unusual punishment. You know, they flagged it. Remember, they flagged the Constitution. They flagged it as a hostile document. They flagged it. The National Archives, whatever it's called, NARA, or they flagged the Constitution under the Biden-Harris regime. They did things that were unfathomable. And so, and the fact of the matter is that they used us to do it. They tricked all people. It ain't got nothing to do with your partisan political stance, your religion, none of that. Everybody got tricked that wasn't a part of the inner circles. Everybody got abused. And Trump mentioned it 1,000 times. This ain't about me. This was about you. I'm just standing in their way. We strong-armed the election in 2016. We took it by surprise. He'll never be president. There was an understanding then. He mentioned that. He said Hillary should be locked up. She should be jailed for her crimes against the United States, for the things that she's done. They had a lock on the FBI, the CIA. They had a lock on the bureaucrats. They had a lock on the administration. They put it in place. They installed it. They to fit the agenda and the international agenda. It wasn't just a national outfit operation. No, this thing is international. This thing has a global implication. The people of the planet, their sovereignty has been being usurped from them. And this whole thing, everybody has had, this global elite, they've been hijacked everybody. That's why I love Trump when he told them during his first term, he went to the United Nations and told them the 21st century don't belong to the global elites, it belongs to the patriots. And this is what we mean. We're not finna sit up here and allow Congress to continue to betray the public trust. Congress does not have that authority. They was never granted that power to finance programs that undermines the Constitution, that attacks the rights of the people. What are we doing here? We reserve the right of course correction. So what I'm trying to say in short is that right now, based on the findings, what I'm saying, and to further notice, I do hereby declare that is a money laundering operation, international. And it has to be brought to an end. You talking about the USA is in a $36 trillion deficit that we paying millions and billions of dollars that's only going to $1 trillion in interest a year. The United States has been captured. They didn't create it in a financial crisis until you remember, every time you look up, Congress was sending out $1 trillion or something. Congress was sitting out and they kept calling out all this pork in this bill, all this pork, and we only get 90 hours to even read this stuff. This is criminal. And they was fighting, they was arguing, it was all kind of controversy. And maybe the American people were distracted with the Trump files, the Trump cases, and all this Trump stuff, and not paying attention to Congress. It was not paying attention to Congress. Trump shouldn't have to do this stuff. Where is the U.S. Congress? Excuse me. Congress should have been immediately convened to address the findings of Doge. They should be conducting congressional hearings as we speak immediately, effectively, immediately, and saying, what the heck is going on here? The same thing with the Treasury. Everybody is supposed to have that Nino Brown phone call. Y'all remember New Jack City? They're supposed to be in that capacity right now. Trump at the head said, hey, everybody get their butts in here. Every head of every department, I want them in my office right now. Every head, every deputy, I want the inspector, I want everybody in my office right now. We all knew that it was going to come down to this. What do you mean Americans is paying historic inflation rates? What do you mean that we're in an energy crisis and we was not in an energy crisis? What do you mean we had a border crisis, but there was not a border crisis prior to the 2020 election? So what do you mean we got a currency crisis, a monetary crisis? Well, these things, we had things under control. We had things, and they hit us with a pandemic. Now we know we financed the bioengineered COVID SARS-19. We financed that. And it was just so happened to be released during that particular time when Trump running for office, where all the laws were changed in the name of the pandemic. Y'all out of y'all mind. There's a constitutional crisis in the United States. The president has, as you know, and if you don't know, now you do, he has extraordinary emergency powers. And with the military, which is here on American soil right now. No, we don't got time to be in the Middle East. We don't got time to be over here. We don't got time to be over there. We don't got time to be fun. We can't afford it. We can't afford to finance it. We can't afford to finance your wars. We can't afford to continue to subsidize these nations. We front the bill. You won't even pay Americans' bills. So that means Americans, why am I paying the light bill? Why am I paying the water bill? Why am I paying the gas bill? That's a tax when we paying the bills for other nations. So we putting the money up for other nations. We paying for multi-millionaire directors of non-profit organizations that's running a program that undermines the American people, that's running a program that's killing the American people. Is that what you define as international development? They out of their mind, man. Thank God for being a nation that has returned to common sense. The golden age, the golden era, the era of common sense. What kind of policy and practice is that? Who agreed to that? They need to be held accountable, because we're going to define this as treason against the people of the United States. I agree with this sister. I'm going to go back to her because she had a powerful stance and she had a powerful voice.
As my colleague said, it's not.
And
we are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made. What Trump and Elon and all of their cronies are trying to do is take away the constitutional power of Congress. We get to decide. We have the power of the purse. We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get. When we talk about civil servants being let go, money gets to where it needs is out of the purse. We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get.
So think about that. They actually getting up here as if the Alpha Ration was legitimate. but simultaneously projecting, saying that this is what he's doing. But in actuality, they're the ones in overreach. They're the ones that's doing things that's not constitutional. They're the ones thinking that it's a dictatorship. They're the ones practicing communism. You're going to control. Wait a minute. Whoa, stop. It's not your money. That's the American people's money. That's our interest. What is it doing going across the waters in the first place? We got unprecedented homelessness rates. We got. Have you seen the nominations they have talked about? That we owe $36 trillion, man. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. We are dealing with a super inflation. You got historic rates in everywhere. We haven't even recovered from the pandemic. We just going along like life is okay. We have not recovered from the pandemic. And then you create all these other, as soon as Trump said they stole the election, we were in a constitutional crisis. We were in a constitutional crisis before Trump got in office the first time. Let the record be straight. But the American people was put to sleep. Let's see what else we got.
Justin Trudeau again, is there anything he can give you at 3 p.m. when you talk again to also
I don't know.
pause,
I don't know.
like you said with Mexico?
I don't know. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals that are so bad? But with Canada, I have a talk with him, and you maybe know or maybe not. We're going to meet again or talk again at 3:00, right after my next meeting, and we'll see what happens. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
You mentioned that he could agree to change your mind on the tariffs?
Well, we can always, look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're going to meet again by phone at 3:00, and we'll let you know what that's.
Wow. Same thing I just said. President Trump, man. This guy is a mastermind at what he's doing.
Why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him. And it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs. And we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas, and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse can be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval. and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running obviously a big company. It has nothing to do if there's a conflict that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just
we have
you know Mark Burnett is. I figure he should be good. He certainly had done a great job. Friend of mine and very talented. I'll hold that one up because Mark gets so much television. We'll hold it up, right? He'll be thrilled to see it. He's going to do a good job.
Thank you, sir. We have a designation of Mark Burnett as your special envoy to the United Kingdom.
You know Mark Burnett is.
To policy directives of the
USAID, what's happening with USAID and how that affects the country?
well, look, I mean, my frustration with USAID goes back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department. And it refuses of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy. But it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly, and in every states. And USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded. And that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct a sort of mature and serious review that I think foreign aid writ large should have. We're spending taxpayer money here. These are not donor dollars. These are taxpayer dollars. And we owe the American people the assurances that every dollar we are spending abroad is being spent on something that furthers our national interest. And so far, a lot of the people that work at USAID have just simply refused to cooperate.
Are you currently in charge of USAID? Or you?
I'm the acting director of USAID. I've delegated that authority to someone, but I stay in touch with him. And again, our goal was to go in and align our foreign aid to the national interest. But if you go to mission after mission and embassy after embassy around the world, you will often find that in many cases, USAID is involved in programs that run counter to what we're trying to do in our national strategy with that country or with that region. That cannot continue. USAID is not an independent, non-governmental entity. It is an entity that spends taxpayer dollars, and it needs to spend it, as the statute says, in alignment with the policy directives that they get from the Secretary of State, the National Security Council, and the President. And it's been 20 or 30 years where people have tried to reform it, and it refuses to reform. It refuses to cooperate. When we were in Congress, we couldn't even get answers to basic questions about programs. That will not continue. That's not going to continue.
Elon Musk is called a terrorist organization. Do you believe that?
I've articulated to you my challenges with it, and they go back to my time in Congress. Okay, we would ask them questions. Who does this program fund? Who gets the money? We won't tell you. We don't need to tell you. We're apolitical. Well, American foreign policy isn't apolitical. American foreign policy is to further the interest of the United States. If someone wants to spend apolitical dollars, they should spend private dollars, go start a charity, and you can fund anyone you want. But if you're going to spend taxpayer money, then you need to spend it in furtherance of the national interest of the United States. That's exactly what I said at my confirmation hearing. And this is not my frustration. This frustration has existed now for almost a quarter century in multiple administrations that have gone through this challenge. It's going to stop and it's going to end.
Can you talk a little bit about the canal?
Don't take my word for it. Wow. Who the hell do these people think they are?
Jersey. About 20 years ago, when I first came to work for the federal government, I walked through these doors right behind me. I was started off my career in public service at USAID. And I just have to say how proud I was to be able to serve the country, how proud I was to work for USAID, to be part of the foreign policy of this country. And I have to tell you, it was really tough today walking through these same doors 20 some years later, only to see it shut down to employees. Now, I got all weekend long, I was getting calls and phone calls from people that I worked with at USAID before, people that are there now, people who have been disrespected by this administration that pushes them to the side, basically calls them criminals, and tells them not to show up to work today. In fact, I went inside trying to speak to the acting administrator, Gray. Unfortunately, was not able to meet with him, and I'm going to continue to try today to be able to meet with the acting administrator because I want to hear straight from him. You know, these are the orders that he gave. You know, you have mysterious people within this new administration sending out emails across the entirety of USAID telling them not to show up. I talked to the security guard. I talked to the security guard just in there. He said he has been given specific orders to prevent employees of USAID from entering the building today. And I just find that to be absolutely ridiculous. You know, this is no way to govern. This is no way to treat public servants. And this is no way for us to conduct our foreign policy as a country. So I just had to show up today, see it with my own eyes, you know, the chaos of this administration and just their attacks upon public servants in our country.
What recourse does Congress have? It doesn't seem like any, Republican senators are really speaking out about how this is being handled. Do you sort of foresee Congress taking any action to?
Well, I certainly hope Congress takes action because what is happening here is illegal. It is unacceptable to have a president try through executive power be able to reorganize or remove USAID. This is an entity that was created through federal statute, codified through federal statute, and something that cannot be changed, cannot be removed except through actions of Congress. So the idea that they are moving forward in this way without any notification to us about trying to change federal statute, just shows how much of a power grab this is. So yes, I do hope that Congress, I certainly want to go back to the Capitol today, engage with my colleagues and see what actions we can take to try to stand up for the American people, stand up for our laws.
What message do you send to those employees that were not allowed or were escorted in and then escorted out? And we even heard from some of them that they are worried about the repercussions this could have worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I tell the staff of the USAID, I'm sorry for what's happening to them. Guys, I'm sorry.
Get a good look at this gentleman. Because he said we're going to do everything we can to fight for the American people. But you're talking about an entity that's financing international organizations. How are you in its financing international organizations that's going against the national interest of the United States? For God's sake, man. This come down from the Secretary of State who just said, I'm the acting director of USAID. I'm the Secretary of State. I'm the first nominee approved. So this was a hit, a stop from the top on down. It went through the chain of command. Elon, go check it out. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of fraud going on, a lot of waste going on. We're going to call it waste until we get all the evidence together so we can call it fraud. And you see, you mentioned all those things, waste, fraud, etc., laundering. And so Congress is cracking up because they've been explicit and it's telling you, yeah, man, we did this. And the president can't stop our operation. Yes, he can. This is a national security crisis. It is the president's duty to intervene, to have intervention here, presidential intervention to save the nation. We're in $36 trillion deficit. We shouldn't be in the 36 trillion. What are we doing just signing checks to everybody, to anybody, everywhere, at any time, without question, without audit? You wouldn't just let me come in and go on your bank account and take out what I need, which I feel like I need? What are we talking about here? You know, take a good look at this guy. This is the infiltration that I'm talking about. That's an infiltration. You weaken us financially. You put us in a debt crisis to overthrow the Constitution, the will and sovereignty of the people, and then tax us to death. So where the laws doesn't protect us because we owe 36 trillion. So you have no constitutional protection. You owe. And who do you owe? The global elites. That's WEF now? Yeah. And the people you don't see. So take a good look, ladies and gentlemen. The people came to work after the place was shut down by law, by policy, by executive order, by administrative order. It's the rule of law. You can't this is an overthrow. We're going to come anyways. And then what happened? The security guards enforced the law. They took the order and executed on the order and escorted them people back up out of there, according to what's being reported here on C-SPAN, on Brother L Global. Because we got to get down to the facts that we're going to fix our own problems. We're going to remove you. We're actually going to put you in jail. You're going to see these things start to evolve. Make no mistake about it. President Trump does not have a problem with this. They raided his home. They booked him. He got his mug shot. He went through the whole process of their lawfare. So what do you think his response was going to be? He was going to bother your money. Y'all went after his money, costing millions of dollars in litigation fees. Millions of dollars in marketing and combating the fake news. It's freedom. Y'all wanted to jail him for 100 years. Y'all tried to hit him with espionage. Why? Remember, he asked about the corruption on the perfect call with Zelensky. That's what set everything in motion. That's why if you pay close attention to the coordination of President Trump and Putin is perfect, actually. Think about it. He asked about the corruption. He knew about the corruption in the Ukraine. Russian intelligence, I believe, furnished that information over to him. That the Bidens was explicit in these crimes. It go beyond Biden. It go all the way up. Back into 2014. Back into that administration. CIA was involved. You just seen the leaked email. That they knew what they were doing. They were election interfering. With the intent to cover up their crimes. And then they tried to cover up that crime that they was covering up a crime. And then you got the news, the fake news media that they own involved in the peddling of propaganda. To keep the people in disarray. Keep the people in a confused state, as we talked about all day today. So take a good look at this gentleman here. War crimes, crimes against humanity. All of these people. What do you mean? And so it's beautiful. This was beautiful. If you really think about it, because you really can't get people upset unless you mess with their money. That's a rule. That's like a golden rule, as they say. They ain't going to stop doing it until you sue them. And so this is Trump at his best foreclosing on the fraudulent operations. And they're upset about it. Let's see what else we got. Wow. White people Twitter is now calling for the public execution of those software developers. They're going mad right now.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk, you didn't create U.S. aid. The United States Congress did for the American people.
See, there go another confession. You got to pay attention. That's a confession. But on the surface, it sounds like, yeah, the American people. Whoa. So Elon's job is to run an audit. He's doing his job under the law. He get the findings and report back to the chief of staff. The chief of staff report, or the deputy chief. Deputy chief reports back, or the chief of staff office reports back to the president's office. They got to go through the buffer, or they might be going direct, right? And this is our findings. And then they submit their findings to the American people. That includes Congress. So now Congress see the findings, and they still get up there and say what exactly? They didn't say shut it down, good job. They're pushing back. They have a disposition. So you're like, wait. Give me the names of the people that's in Congress, that's serving in these GEO, in these NGOs, leadership capacity, executive capacity, etc., that has received money through the USAID that they created. That's a conflict of interest. So, and we've seen some reports already. So you said, wait a minute, whoa. So you set it up. You set up the companies so you basically a Hunter Biden 2.0. So what Hunter Biden did is what everybody's doing in DC. Everybody is setting up a shell company, whether they're for-profits or non-profits, to cipher the money that was created from congressional legislation and enacted in law and appropriated to these agencies for said specific purposes that's supposed to align with the United States national security interests. However, what's been going on and that it's been doing quite the opposite. It's been funding operations against the interests of the national agenda and policy agenda. What are we doing? That's like saying we created ISIS and finance ISIS and then act like we're in a decline, but really we didn't create it. The technology that's stimulating the decline in the United States, and we're behind it. We're our own devil. So once we know that, why the heck will we keep that going? Stop it. Shut it down. Because it is now under criminal investigation. This not a game, ladies and gentlemen. It's not some American citizen getting being subject to police brutality, and then everybody's going marching and pushing back. This is not that. This is not that particular. This is not that moment. The actual brutality is political brutality against the American people. We're the ones that's getting beat up collectively as a nation. That's where all this frustration is stemming from. You look at some of the acts, some of these crazy acts and activities that it went down, you start to wonder what the heck is creating this kind of environment. Stuff like this that's happening at the top. So as it reads, Democrat Rep. Jamie Raskin looks like he's going to have a heart attack as he melts down over Elon Musk targeting USAID for burning American taxpayer dollars. They got caught and now they're lashing out. Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury, but you don't control the money of the American people. I'm hearing from my constituents who work for USAID and USAID contractors. They're telling us that, that this is a killer in terms of their cutoff of HIV and AIDS preemption. All of these are illusion. All of this stuff is an illusion. to justify sustaining the money laundering operation going on through the USAID. And it got to stop. It has to stop. It got to stop. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk, you didn't create U.S. aid. The United States Congress did for the American people. And just like Elon Musk did not create U.S. aid, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are. We're going to stop him. Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury, but you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does that.
Nope. They used to do it, but they forfeited that right, that power over to another. When they sold out to these special interest groups, PACs, and NGOs and foreign powers, they removed themselves from office. And so we've been being controlled. Our Congress has been under control of foreign powers. And we see that time and time again as they continue to fund crisis, continue to fund wars. So they'll fund a war with money, weaponry, and other resources. And then the people that's getting blown up, displaced, etc., they're gonna send the USAID in with all kind of foreign humanitarian aid and assistance. But you sent the bullets and the guns and the money and all this other stuff to fund the hardship, crisis, fatal reality that these people are suffering from, that you about to send humanitarian aid to through the contractors. So we talk about the USAID contractors. Who are the contractors? So all of these, so we're subject to the contractual state that exists. This is a part and component of the military industrial complex. The contractors, they're sucking us dry. Those same companies that trucking us supplies over, and all the other little businesses in between to get things from point A to point B, to develop things, to serve the packages, to place the orders, all of these different moving parts. It's fine. I mean, they making a very good profit. It's a very profitable industry. So think about that. So we want to end wars. So there ain't no need to send all this humanitarian aid and assistance around the world, because there's no war. You ain't got to worry about what's going on in Gaza, what's going on with the Palestinians, and the crisis that's been created, because we're not going to finance that. We're going to finance peace. And if you're depending on us to subsidize your nation, then it's in your best interest to come to the negotiation table. And it's just that, it's just really common sense. We front the bill for your nation. Well, you got to end that stuff you got going on over there. You can't be considered a sovereign nation and we putting all the money up for you. It just sounds good for TV, but there's no way you can be a sovereign nation and we subsidize your country. How can you be an independent country? You're not financially independent. Why are we putting up $250 billion for nations? Multiple. We taking care of the world at the end of the day. What are we doing here? And so take a good look at these people, ladies and gentlemen.
Under Article 1 of the Constitution. And just like the president who is elected to something cannot impound the money of the people, we don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk. And that's going to become real clear. This illegal, unconstitutional interference with congressional power is threatening lives all over the world. I'm hearing from my constituents who work for USAID and USAID contractors.
So he's hearing from his donors. And he's going to call a constituent. He's hearing from his donors. Because ain't nobody in their right mind that's an American sitting here saying, send all my money across the water. sending billions of dollars, trillions of dollars across the water while our community suffers and we got to be left to clean the mess up. So who's really called him? Who you really heard from? His donors, the foreign powers. What are you doing? We paid you a lot of money, buddy. Man, look, Shurs, I'm doing my best. We're gonna do a press conference at 4. We're gonna go into a session. We're gonna go after. We're gonna do this. And we're gonna do that. We're already working on it. He got to report. And he ain't reporting to his constituents. He reporting to his donors, where he guaranteed a certain outcome. Because they're all in on it. They can give you a guarantee because they got the votes, because they got the circle, they got the collusion. And they're all getting a piece. It's not complex, it's common sense. They tell me we found, again, let's repeat, we found millions of dollars going against us. And it's our money. It's not going to us. It's not going for us, but it's going against us. That's interesting. That's an interesting policy.
In Maryland, in Washington, all over the world, and they're telling us that this is a killer in terms of their cutoff of HIV and AIDS preemption. It's a killer in terms of anti-malarial education. It's a killer in terms of all of the efforts to shut down global viruses. Now, I don't know what Elon Musk's intentions are. I don't know what Elon Musk's motivations are. I don't know what his purposes are, but they've got nothing to do with what has been lawfully adopted by the people of the United States of America through the Congress of the United States. We're going to defend U.S. aid all the way. And I want to say finally this. I've heard some murmurings in support of this outrageous, scandalous, illegal maneuver that they just need some time to do some studies for evaluations. Well, I've heard from multiple constituents working in U.S. aid that they have removed all evaluations from the U.S. aid website and they have shut down immediately, as of right now, all of the evaluations taking place of U.S. aid efforts all over the world. This has nothing to do with evaluation. This is about termination and obliteration of the major foreign aid programs of the United States of America, all of which together total less than $40 billion. We have a Pentagon budget of $900 billion. The Pentagon budget is where the defense contractor Elon Musk, who became the richest man in the world off of our money, he collects his payments from, and now he's trying to shut down U.S. aid. We're not going to allow this to happen. It will not stand.
Yeah. It's they are upset, and they should be. If we succeed, I like to ask for support of the American people because we're going to get a lot of opposition. I mean, wow. This is a great time in America, man. Welcome to the golden ages. It is on and popping. It is on and popping. We're not even a month into the presidency, and it is on and popping. Let's see here. What else we got? Man, who the heck is Michael Steele? The security guy wouldn't let him in, man. This is great. This is breaking news right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually breaking for sure. Well, this guy, Senator Bryan, is taking a stand. He's blocking all of Trump's State Department nominees till it's fully open. We don't need his vote. Who is this guy? Breaking Trump signed an executive order, a first of its kind sovereign wealth fund, which will invest vast amounts of money into national development projects.
People, why don't we fund? And when we do all of this, we will be so successful. We'll create America's own sovereign wealth fund to invest in great national endeavors for the benefit of all of the American people. Why don't we have a wealth fund? Other countries have wealth funds. We have nothing. We have nothing. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, or we can name it something different. I'll talk about it with Mr. Paulson, who's in the audience, and a lot of other friends of mine. And we'll name it something that's appropriate. Perhaps sovereign wealth fund wouldn't be appropriate, but it's going to be the same thing. We'll put tremendous amounts of money through all this money that will be taken in through tariffs and other intelligent things. And we'll have the greatest sovereign wealth fund of them all, and we should have. And that will be used to do things that will be great for our country, including to invest and wisely invest and build it up bigger and stronger and better than any place on earth. We will build extraordinary national development projects and everything from highways to airports and to transportation infrastructure, all of the future. We'll be able to invest in state-of-the-art manufacturing hubs, advanced defense capabilities, cutting-edge medical research, and help save billions of dollars in preventing disease in the first place. And I'm very honored to have been endorsed last week by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That was a great endorsement, and he's very much into helping people. He's very much into helping people. I've known him a long time. That was a great thing when he did that. That was not easy for a Kennedy to be endorsing a Republican. That was not easy. But these are not Democrats. These are radical left lunatics, and you can't let them run your country. We will invest in new and modern agricultural techniques so we can have safe, healthy, high-quality foods for our families. That's where Bobby is so interested, foods. He says we're putting a lot of bad foods in our body. You look at other countries which do far less, and they're actually much healthier than we are. This wealth fund will return a gigantic profit, which will help pay down national debt. We're going to work on national debt very strongly, by the way. We're going to have so much money coming in. We're going to work on national debt. We're at close to $36 trillion right now. We're going to work on getting it down. And it is many of the people in this room who will be helping to advise and recommend investments for this fund.
All right, President Trump. Well, that's all the time that we have here at the moment. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in roughly 45 minutes to an hour. Thank you all for joining the Brother L Global. Peace.